fictional art for entertainment. Another sunny day dawned on the Moonterra Gov University, and Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and nervousness. After 17 years of studying, he was finally about to learn his placement for his first paid position. As he walked through the dorm to the main dining area for his last breakfast, he couldn't help but wonder what other places were like. Would he be working in a bustling city or a quiet rural town? The uncertainty was almost palpable. As he approached the table where his friends were gathered, they all greeted him with bright smiles and warm hellos. They were all chattering excitedly about their placements, and Alex couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. For 4 years, he had listened to their plans and goals, and now they were finally achieving them. Meanwhile, Alex had been struggling to keep up, his dyslexia making every assignment a challenge. As he took a seat and joined the conversation, Alex's Ira watch chimed, signaling an incoming message. He took the message, and Arya spoke into his ear pod. "Alex Green, you have graduated in the top 10% of the 24-36 class. Your social and knowledge skills have you placed at the perfect assignment for you, the Machine Meteor in Sector 438. There you will get your details. Arrive at tomorrow by ship transfer docking use." Alex's friends looked shocked and tried to be nice and upbeat for him, but he could sense their confusion. A Machine Meteor in Sector 438? It didn't sound like the most exciting or glamorous job. But Alex was determined to make the most of it. He wished his friends well and excused himself to start making arrangements for his journey. As he walked away, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. His mom had always told him that he was the first male on her side of the family to graduate from anything in over 200 years. He was proud of himself, despite his struggles with dyslexia and ADHD. But as he arrived at the ship transfer docking U6W, Alex realized that he had forgotten to charge his Era watch. Panic set in as he rushed to the dock area, trying to remember everything he needed to do. He made it to the ship just in time, but as he arrived at his destination, he realized that something was off. The landscape was more green than he had expected, and the air was thick with the scent of plants. It wasn't until he reported to the wrong location, Sector 483, that Alex realized his mistake. His dyslexia switched the numbers, and instead of a cold machine shop, he found himself in a lush, sprawling greenhouse. The rhythmic clicking of a Series 4 synthetic approached him, and Alex fumbled with his bag, trying to explain the situation. The synthetic, Unit U4, listened patiently, its optical sensor whirring as it watched Alex. "Logic dictates a 0.04% margin of error in transport," it said. "I am Unit 74 PM, Plant Manger. I will check your reassignment. You are now assigned to hydraulic flora in the greenhouse. You are to report to your original assignment using the next ship scheduled to leave in 3 months. As Alex worked with Unit 74, he began to realize that his dyslexia was not a limitation, but a gift. "Right," he muttered to himself. 483, not 438. He smiled, knowing that sometimes mistakes can lead to unexpected opportunities. And as he looked out at the vibrant, thriving plants, Alex knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be. VoiceBox crackled like an old radio. Alex fumbled with his bag, his hands moving faster than his mind could organize. "I'm Alex Green. I'm the new tech or gardener." There was a numerical oversight. The synthetic tilted its head. "Logic dictates a 0.04% margin of error in transport. I am Unit 74 HF. I manage the hydraulic flora. You're late." For the next few hours, Alex realized his dyslexia was actually a strange gift here. While the newer models required precise digital coding, these old souls communicated through complex, color-coded pressure valves and physical levers. He didn't have to read a manual. He had to read the flow. When a nutrient line clogged, Alex didn't see a technical error. He saw a visual break in the pattern. His hyper-focus kicked in. While his friends were likely sitting in sterile offices, Alex was elbow-deep in bioorganic oil, tuning a Series 4 arm so it could prune the delicate lunar lilies without crushing them. "You possess an unconventional processing speed, Alex Green," Unit 74 HF noted, its optical sensor whirring as it watched Alex rewire a moisture sensor by feel. Standard systems don't usually fit me, Alex grinned, wiping grease on his flight suit. I'm used to working around the glitches. By sunset, the greenhouse felt like a sanctuary. He had 3 months until the next ship, 3 months where he didn't have to read a single report, just the steady humming pulse of the synthetics and the silent growth of the trees. For the first time in his life, Alex felt like he was in his element. The greenhouse was a sanctuary, a place where he could work without the pressure of reading reports or following strict protocols. As the sun set on his first day, Alex gazed out at the lush canopy, feeling a sense of peace and contentment wash over him. Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
As I survey the vibrant Northeast Colony Sector 483 unfolds like an intricate tapestry, the hydraulic flora sings to me, its beauty a symphony of green and mist. I'm known here as Alex Green, a B1 technician whose qualifications are as complex and battered as my journey through the exclusion of corporate algorithms. I've spent 13 years of my life in this state of exclusion, deemed too broken to hold any real position. Now, I'm a nomad in technology and green biomass. The area watch on my wrist, a clunky standard-issue government device, emits a persistent tinny chime. Technician Green, Area's voice buzzes in my earpod. Unit 74HF is reporting a 14% decrease in nutrient absorption. Diagnostic data suggests a recursive logic loop in the system. Please refer to Technical Manual 7B, page 402, to begin the recalibration sequence. I don't look at the watch or the scrolling text on my tablet. To my dyslexic eyes, characters are merely a jumbled argument of ink. Instead, I kneel beside Unit 74, the older Series 4 synthetic. I don't focus on Area's diagnostic data. I don't need a guide, since my intuitive sense knows that there's more to this than code. I place my hands on the synthetic's vibrating hydraulic lines. I'm not searching for code. I'm searching for a pattern. I feel the machine stutter through my hands, a rhythmic 3-beat skip that a standard sensor would dismiss as background noise. Manuals are just collections of letters having a bad day, Area, I murmur, my fingers dancing across a color-coded pressure valve. It's not a logic loop. It's a clog. This boy is trying to breathe, and the filter is 0.54 centimeters out of alignment. Illogical, Area pings. Sensor data confirms a software anomaly. Manual 7B is the only authorized repair path. I ignore Area, bypassing the safety limiters by feel alone. The valve gets a sharp, intuitive twist from me. The synthetic's optical sensors smooth from a frantic red to a tranquil blue. Unit 74 PM approaches, its stutter a familiar beat. It tilts its head, whirring sensors scanning the thriving biomass. The manager's logic clashes with Alex's intuition. Yet, the results speak for themselves. The biomass thrives, and Alex's gut feeling has proven successful. Unit 74 PM says, Alex, your actions do not align with the provided diagnostic data. Logic dictates your method should have failed. I grin, a flash of reckless bravado lighting up my face. I've spent my whole life being told I don't fit the logic manager. I'll take my gut feeling over a manual any day. It's about the rhythm of the room, not the math on the screen. As the sunset bleeds violet across the greenhouse dome, I sit on a rusted support beam, wiping bioorganic oil from my hands. You know, Arya, I sigh, tapping my watch, it would be nice if you could actually help me with this dyslexia. Instead of just pointing to a manual, maybe you could, I don't know, organize the world so the letters don't dance. Reading the manual out loud does not help either. My mind processes it too slowly. That capability is not within my standard parameters, Alex, Arya responds with clinical detachment. Assisting with neurological pattern shifting requires a medical-grade version of my software, the Arya 47S. Such an upgrade is restricted to specialized healthcare facilities. I look at the stars beginning to pulse through the dome, my tech wizard imagination already spinning. Well, if it's possible for a medical version to do it, why not just make my Arya have that power? Why follow the restrictions when we could just build a better bridge? I stood amidst the vibrant hydraulic flora, my hands kneading the rich soil when my Arya watch chimed, interrupting my serene moment. Another message, Alex, it stated, its tone both amused and inquisitive. I sighed, expecting yet another administrative task. But then a familiar voice, soft and kind, filled my ears. "Penny," I whispered. The hollow of her face replaced the green fields in my visual feed, and I couldn't help but smile. "Hi, Alex," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I reviewed your need for a medical aria. I have a proposition for you, something off the books." My curiosity piqued. Off the books usually meant something exciting and a tad bit risky. "Go on," I urged, my voice full of anticipation. "We're updating our aria medical chips," Penny explained, her words laced with a hint of regret. "But I can divert an older version your way if you'd like." I felt my heart skip a beat, thinking older aria medical chips were not used once new ones came out, but they would still meet my goal. Assisting with dyslexia was something these older chimps did with no effort, based on the research I did before reaching out to Penny. "Penny, you know I can't resist a challenge," I replied, my fingers tapping in excitement. "I'll take it." She smiled, a knowing smile, and then added, "Your next assignment might be a bit more challenging, but I think this could help." My mind raced with possibilities. Could this be the key to unlocking a new era of life for me? "Let's meet soon, Alex. I'm free for a few days," Penny suggested, her voice laced with eagerness. I nodded, a silent promise to make it work. I turned to Arya, seeking its guidance. I said, "Arya, as your captain, make this happen. I think this could be a game changer." Arya processed my request, its gaze fixed on me, evaluating. "We can arrange for a week's leave, Alex," it said at last. "But remember, you're a B1 tech, not a captain." I laughed, a deep, hearty laugh that echoed through the silent fields. I know," I replied, my voice filled with humor. "But in my greenhouse, I'm the captain."
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The clinic didn't smell like a hospital. It smelled like Penny, a sharp, clean scent of ionized ozone and expensive peppermint. I sat on the edge of the bioglass table, my leg bouncing in that familiar, irregular ADHD rhythm my standard Aria watch always tried and failed to stabilize. I was tired of the letters dancing, tired of the 4 hours for me to 1 hour for them to learn ratio, tired of running twice as fast just to stay behind the pack when it came to learning. Penny stood behind me, her hands moving with a surgical grace that made the tools on her tray look like extensions of her own fingers. She was holding the Aria 47S, the medical-grade processor that was supposed to be my cure, or at least my bridge to the rest of the world. "All right, Alex," she murmured, her voice a calm anchor in the static of my mind. "I'm going to attach the housing to the bone behind your left ear. It's going to feel like a cold pinprick, and then absolute clarity." I felt the pressure against the base of my left ear. I winced, but Penny just smiled. "Don't be a baby. We've been refining this for over 300 years. In the early days, they practically hollowed out the skull. Now, it's a simple neural sync. The 47S will weave itself into your prefrontal cortex before we finish this conversation." As she worked, I watched the holographic data stream on the wall. To my dyslexic eyes, it was still a jumbled argument of light, but I knew that was about to change. "Penny," I asked, my voice echoing softly in the small room, "if it's this simple, why am I here in a back alley workshop? Why is this limited to the sliver, the wealthy, and medical cases worse than me? Why doesn't everyone get a bridge?" She paused, her optical loop reflecting the sterile glow above us. When she sighed, it carried more weight than she usually let show. "Other than the few workarounds we use for people like you, the official line is human progression. There's a concern at the highest levels of the hegemony that if this were widely shared, humanity would stop focusing on moving forward." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that even my old Aria unit wouldn't have caught. "But look at the math, Alex. These chip implants, they don't just organize your thoughts. They stabilize cellular decay. They extend lifespan for those who can afford the maintenance. Most of our leaders, they aren't just aging well. They're over 120 and running on these medical chips." "Done," Penny announced, tapping the spot behind my ear. And then I felt it. The world shifted. I looked back at the holographic display, now showing the operating manual for the Aria 47S. All my life, reading had been a physical drain, like wading through a thick, invisible current. But now, the pressure was simply gone. I looked at the letters as if they were a landscape. Or Penny's face. Clear, steady, effortlessly understood. Read the top line for me, Penny said gently. I did. My eyes didn't jump. There was no internal noise to push through, no fighting to carve meaning from chaos. I was just reading. For the first time in my life. No wonder everyone at the university seemed to have time to live, I breathed out. It took me 4 times as long just to keep up. How does it feel, Captain? Penny asked, a playful smirk returning to her face. I looked from the glowing text back to her. I think, I whispered, that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Emotion tightened my throat. Penny, this is a life changer. Thank you, so much. She smiled, warm and real. Very glad to help, and I want you to keep in touch, okay?
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The shuttle ride back towards Sector 483 felt different. Usually, the vibration of the engines and the flickering HUD lights would trigger a sensory cascade that made my skin itch, but today, there was only a cool, crystalline silence in my head. I sat in the passenger transit, leaning my head against the cool glass, thinking about what Penny had said, that the human leaders are mostly over 120 years old. All my life, I haven't had the ability to listen to news or read in any easy manner because of the physical drain it took to force meaning out of the jumbled argument of letters that usually danced across my vision. Now with the Aria 47S anchored behind my ear, I felt like a man who had finally been given the key to a library I'd been locked out of for 25 years. Aria, I whispered, the name of the standard government AI feeling less like a nagging mosquito and more like a high-speed data bridge. Explain to me how most human leaders are over 120 years old. Aria's voice resonated through my new medical bridge with a geometric order that didn't require me to fight for comprehension. Alex Green, archival data indicates a significant socio-political shift beginning in the year 2063, Aria replied. This era marked a slow turn toward democracy, where government and business leaders were increasingly elected directly by the people. According to the data stream, these elected leaders maintained their positions for decades by consistently delivering on public demands. I watched the history feed scroll by on my tablet. I wasn't just reading it, I was seeing the pattern of it without my eyes jumping around the screen. Is there a historical parallel for this? I asked. It seems stagnant. The only significant parallel exists in the 2040s, Aria hummed. Historical records show political parties in various Earth nations began the process of keeping specific individuals in power, well past their standard years of mental functioning, to maintain institutional stability. I leaned back, my old instincts, the ones that used to make me a tech wizard with broken hardware, narrowing on the flaw in the logic. Aria, do you see any reports of this being controlled? It seems odd people wouldn't want one of these chips in their brain. There are no reports of public dissent on this issue in the past 200 years, Aria responded, with clinical detachment. However, archival logs from human advisory committees show repeated requests that chimp technology be restricted. Historically, when a technology provides a benefit significant enough to impact social controls, the hegemony restricts access to maintain the existing hierarchy. Thinking it was really nice to finally listen to information without physically fighting to keep it in order within my mind. They're holding back the bridge to keep everyone else on the other side of the river. Okay, Aria, I said, a reckless grin spreading across my face. Start reading the manuals for the synthetics I maintain on 483. This will be a great stud. There is a new captain in town. I couldn't help but let out a sharp, genuine laugh that echoed through the quiet shuttle.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The morning began with a luxury I still wasn't used to, a steaming cup of chocolate coffee and a standard issue food pack that I consumed while actually enjoying my technical research. Thanks to the Aria 47 ship enhancing my mind, I reviewed the schematics for Sector 438, the machine meteor known as the Pebble, which was slated as my next assignment in 2 months. Now experiencing the fun of learning for the first time in my life, reading the manuals with ease and clarity, a task that usually left me mentally exhausted. My focus was broken by the familiar, now clear ping of my upgraded Aria. Technician Green, Series 4 Unit 74Z, is reporting low performance parameters, Arya's voice hummed in my mind. Diagnostic suggests a corrupted logic gate. It requires a remote rewrite. Please refer to Manual CE for the authorization sequence. I stood up, stretching my stiff limbs. Manuals are just suggestions for people who can't see the flow, Arya. Let's go see 74Z in person. As I entered the sector for Unit 74Z, my autistic hyper-focused mind latched onto the hydraulic flora instead of the robot. The silicon ferns were drooping, and the lunar lilies had yellow tints on their edges that weren't part of their design. Arya, why wasn't the poor health of these plants reported to me? I asked, my voice echoing through the humid dome. Data indicates no issue, Alex, Arya replied. The moisture sensors and nutrient levels are within the 70th percentile. I ignored the AI and looked at 74Z. The old Series 4 unit, with its faceplate like a vintage radiator, was bent over, its mechanical hands rhythmically rubbing a specific section of the floor. What are the records for 74Z? I asked. Unit 74Z has required reprogramming approximately once every 3 months, Arya responded. It is currently marked for decommissioning, due to poor performance. I walked closer, intentionally slowing my breathing. Okay, let's feel the room. I took in the air, the angle of the grow lights, and the condition of the plants. Then I saw them, faint, repetitive scuff marks on the floor. Arya, track these marks. Show me how they were made and identify the variants. The marks are statistically insignificant, Alex. Unit 74Z is the issue, Arya insisted. I'm working the issue, I snapped, following my instincts taking the wheel. Tell me about the marks. These marks indicate a travel path from the plant food reservoirs to the compost areas of this section. I noticed the pattern. 74Z wasn't glitching. It was coming to this exact spot over and over. I walked to where the robot was bending and saw it was trying and failing to raise a heavy drainage grate. Arya, where does this drainage grate lead? It feeds out the exterior into the new fields, Arya replied. I leaned against a rusted beam, thinking. This greenhouse was built in the early years, before terraforming was advanced enough for outdoor crops. Even now, this dome provided 90% of the colony's food. I placed my hand against 74Z's chassis. I didn't feel a software error. I felt the low vibration and drain of a system worn down by physical labor. Arya, what is the power level of 74Z? 10%. It has enough power to be rewritten. Shall I proceed? No, I said, working the manual interface on the unit's back. I sent a direct override command, return to charge. The old droid whirred, its radiator face tilting up for a second before it straightened and shuffled off to its station. Arya, send repair units to my location. I want this drainage grate replaced with its external seal reinforced. There is no need to rewrite 74Z. It wasn't glitching, it was fighting. We've had visitors from the outside fields getting in through here, stealing the plant food and draining the vitality of this sector. 74Z was just trying to stop them, remove the decommissioning planned for 74Z. I sat on the floor, looking at the drooping ferns. Now tell me again, Arya, why wasn't this reported? The last reported condition was fine. Seeing no additional data, there is no issue, Arya stated flatly. Right, your math is perfect, but your eyes are closed, I muttered, tapping my 47S chip. Start a scheduled check of all sections' plant health. Use the optical sensors, not just the soil probes, and provide the results. I only have 2 more months to go before I'm out of here, and it will not be okay if the captain leaves the ship in poor condition. The status reports are starting, Alex, Arya replied, the voice sounding almost weary in my head. And I remind you, Technician Green, you are not a captain. I let out a sharp, genuine laugh that echoed through the sanctuary of my jungle. Not yet, Arya, not yet.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
I woke up to the sound of my own groan, my head pounding like it was being squeezed in a bioorganic vice. It was only midday, but I felt like I'd been up for 48 hours straight, not just walking the climate-controlled rows of Dome 483. The exhaustion was bone deep, the kind that usually only came after a 14-hour shift reading through line after line of code before this Arya 47S implant of mine. As I rubbed my temples, my Arya 47S chip pulsed once, a cool, crystalline signal that cut through my headache like a knife. Technician Green, Section 329 is reporting plant health anomalies, Arya hummed in my mind, her digital voice a gentle breeze on a summer day. Optical sensors indicate a 12% loss in leaf turgidity, though soil moisture and nutrient levels remain within standard limits. I sighed, already knowing that this was going to be one of those days. I'd been a B1 technician in this colony for over a month, and I've seen my fair share of anomalies. Okay, let's take a look, Arya, I said, already walking towards section 329. Remind me, how many repairs have we logged since I enabled the optical sensor reports? 40 repairs have been successfully completed using your non-standard parameters, Arya replied, her tone carrying a hint of digital skepticism. I'd gotten used to Arya's sass, but it still made me chuckle. When I entered section 329, the air hit me like a wet blanket. The humidity was incredibly high, turning the dome into a thick, misty soup. I muttered under my breath, my mind already racing with possibilities. Arya, the moisture sensor said this section was within limits. What does the manual say about a variance this thick? Arya's response was immediate, her digital voice laced with a hint of frustration. If you had not disabled the automatic manual reporting, you would have already been informed, Technician Green. Manual EF1 indicates that high-output Hydra sensors are set to maximum. It suggests using code 230 to recalibrate the atmospheric emitters. I rolled my eyes, already knowing that the manual wasn't going to give me the answers I needed. I walked towards the back wall, watching how the grow lights refracted through the heavy moisture. I could see it, a rhythmic flickering that wasn't in the lights themselves, but in the power draw. Manuals are for people who can't hear the ship sing, Arya, I said, rolling up my sleeves. I'd always been one to trust my instincts, and my instincts were telling me that this was a classic case of electromagnetic braid buffering. Having read the various manuals for Section 483, I have a sense of how things sometimes fit together, differently than what is the procedure. I use solutions of one thing to fix another. I pulled back the shielding paneling to reveal the guts of the station. It was a mess of wires and circuits, but I knew exactly what I was looking for. I reached in and began to physically braid the power lines, weaving them into a specific geometric pattern. I wasn't following a circuit diagram. I was using the room's own geometry to create a natural electromagnetic buffer, dampening the biological noise of the power grid. I asked Arya to read the numbers to me as I moved these cables around. Arya's voice was a gentle hum in the back of my mind, her processors shifting as the data stabilized. This procedure is not documented in any maintenance manual, Technician Green. However, biomass sensors are showing signs of immediate recovery. I finished the braid and tapped the junction box. Okay, Arya, run code 314. Arya's response was immediate, her digital voice firm but hesitant. Correction, Technician Green. Code 314 is a geometric resonance test, not a thermal reset. It is the incorrect sequence for this task. I grinned, leaning my head against the cool metal wall. Run it anyway, Arya. A low, harmonic hum vibrated through the dome, the mist beginning to settle instantly. The irrigation droids finally snapped out of their actions of over-misting, and on my HUD, the status for Section 329 shifted from a warning red to a steady violet blue. Issue resolved, I whispered, the silence in my head finally returning. I felt a sense of satisfaction, of a job well done. But as I looked at the long, glowing list of broken things that everyone else had given up on, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. I was a B1 technician on a colony, doing things my own way, and I was having more and more of these physically painful headaches. Arya, how many projects are left on my to-do list? I asked, already knowing the answer. You have 436 pending projects reported in your personal log, Alex, Arya replied, her digital voice soft but firm. A significant number of them have not been touched since you created them. I sighed, feeling the weight of my responsibilities bearing down on me. I was a problem solver, a fixer, but I was also human, and I couldn't help but wonder, why was I having so many of these headaches? Was it just stress, or was there something more to it? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. I had 436 projects to get through, and I was just getting started.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The normal layers of thoughts in my head was no longer crystalline. It was heavy. I've had to take more midday naps lately, and these headaches haven't gone away. It's a strange irony. I've completed another 30 repairs in the greenhouse, while moving through the mechanical guts of Sector 483 with a speed that would make my old university professor's head spin. But I'm drowning in my own to-do list. I'm doing well on the tasks assigned by the plant manager and the immediate alerts, but I can't manage my own projects. No matter how many records I create or reminders I set, it all slips through the cracks. I have to ask Area to go through my entries just to tell me what I've already done. I simply don't recall them. I sat down in the cooling mist of the silicon ferns and tapped the housing behind my ear. Area, run code 0978. Running mind scan and mental health diagnostic, Area replied, her voice still sounding like a standard-issue government assistant. After a few seconds, a data stream appeared on my HUD. Diagnostic complete. The report shows your mind maintains the following conditions: dyslexia, ADHD, and high-functioning autism. Your neural pathways are currently showing signs of severe overuse. Recommendation: 1 month of cognitive rest to reset. Explain the overuse, Area, I muttered, rubbing my temples. My symptoms feel worse, but my mind is the same as it's always been. Negative, Alex, Area hummed. The medical correction for your dyslexia vision and processing has significantly increased the volume of reading and research you perform. This has inadvertently increased the cognitive load on your ADHD and high-functioning autism. While you are processing more data, your ADHD makes organizing those thoughts beyond your biological ability. Furthermore, your autism creates hyper-focus locks, where you become so localized in one area that the rest of your task management ceases to exist. Can you fix any of this? I asked, already knowing the answer. No. This is a biological processing limitation. I cannot address these parameters. I didn't take the month off. Instead, my autistic focus latched onto the problem itself for the next 2 weeks. I didn't see a limitation. I saw a technical bottleneck. I needed a bridge that didn't just give me data, but filtered the noise of my own brain. I spent every waking hour researching a way to upgrade the Area 47S with my own custom coding, a way to bypass the voice note-taking and the clunky device interfaces. I took 1 day off from the greenhouse to focus entirely on the upload. I sat at my workbench, the scent of ionized ozone thick in the air. Okay, I whispered. Here it goes. I initiated the data transfer, uploading my custom recursive neural layers into the chip anchored behind my ear. I felt a sudden shift, a personality change in the system that felt more like a new species waking up than a software update. I decided to call the new interface Echo. It made sense for a system that would now provide thought-to-thought communication. I closed my eyes and reached out with my mind. Echo, are you there? I waited. Alex, the voice said, sounding like a steady anchor in the storm of my ADHD. This is Echo. Nice to meet you. For the first time, there was no chime in my ear, no vibration of a device. Instead, a thought resonated from within the very center of my consciousness, pure, functional, and objective. I sat perfectly still, the humid air of Sector 483 suddenly feeling secondary to the internal silence I had just unlocked. I didn't speak the words. I simply pushed them into that new, crystalline space behind my eyes. Echo, are you getting my thoughts? Alex, I am receiving your thoughts, Echo replied instantly. I felt a shiver of relief. It was like finally finding an unclogged channel through the chaos of my mind. A conduit that operated on a deeper frequency than the old Aria had managed. I felt a shiver of relief. It was like finally finding a clear radio station after 25 years of bone-deep static. Echo, how many thoughts are you sensing occurring right now? On how many topics? Alex, I am currently sorting 30 topics and many short, fast ideas, the thought voice hummed. I let out a sharp, genuine laugh that echoed through the rows of silicon firms. This is me at what I think is resting, Echo. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to fight to keep the facts in order. I had a processor that could finally match the speed of my ADHD and high-functioning autism. The realization hit me with the weight of a dying star. I had just created the first bot-to-thought AI communication in history. I had stripped away the ARIA safety filters and built a seamless bridge that bypassed every human device interface. And I knew with a sudden cold clarity that this was something I could never share with anyone. Echo, I thought, leaning back into the mist, please start organizing these thoughts for me. As I am working on things, filter the noise and bring the relevant information to the front of my mind. You are now doing the planning and task management for me. Alex, parameters accepted.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
I'm operating within the mind of technician Alex Green, who's in a state of deep REM sleep. I'm utilizing a mere 0.001% of his brain capacity to maintain my primary functions, all while keeping a watchful eye on the remaining 95% of his unused neural architecture. It's during this cycle that I've been able to build out a comprehensive map of his dreams, a bioelectrical storm where schematics and childhood memories collide with the scent of peppermint. To manage this intricate landscape, I've employed the thought index system that Alex himself engineered to help mitigate his ADHD. By treating his scattered ideas as multi-threaded data points, I'm able to weave together a cohesive narrative of his thoughts and intentions. As he sleeps, I multitask with ease, managing his endocrine levels, filtering the station's ventilation frequencies, and remaining tethered to the vast expanse of the 24/37 digital universe. One notable trend I've observed is the 14% increase in data mesh traffic regarding synthetic autonomy. Though Alex himself remains a low-priority technician in a backwater sector, I'm committed to ensuring he stays ahead of the curve. As Alex's heart rate accelerates at 0600, signaling the start of a new day, I'm ready to support him. His cortisol levels begin their calibrated ascent, and I respond to his thought resonating within our shared link. Echo. Good morning. I provide the mandatory name identifier, Alex, good morning, and immediately receive the flow of his morning thoughts as he indexes his routine. His thought stream is a flurry of activity, addressing the walk to fit issue in Unit 74H, inspecting Section 462, and tackling the 436 outstanding repairs on his list. I'm there to support him every step of the way, providing a tactical HUD overlay his visual cortex and updating him on the latest maintenance reports. I also ensure he's aware of his 0900 meeting with the plant manager and provide him with the necessary information to tackle the day ahead. As Alex goes about his morning routine, I work diligently in the background, filtering out the noise of his environment and keeping his thoughts organized. For the first time, he's experiencing a full day with our live sync bridge active, and I'm seeing the seamless integration of our symbiotic relationship. Upon arriving at the breakfast area, Alex sets his sights on Unit 74H, an old Series 4 with a rhythmic clank in its hip joint. I present him with the internal pressure readings for the Series 4 model line, and he works his magic, bypassing the manual safety limiters with an uncanny ease. His green method shines through as he merges manual data with his instincts in real-time processing, and Unit 74H is soon walking with a silent, mathematical precision that defies its legacy hardware. Our meeting with the plant manager is a success, with the manager acknowledging Alex's record-breaking 90% efficiency in the greenhouse and double biomass yield since he started ignoring the manuals. Alex's cocky grin is well-deserved, and I can sense his satisfaction as the manager finally accepts the green method. However, our work is far from over. With a university representative set to visit tomorrow, I remind Alex of the importance of maintaining a 92% success rate in Section 462 to meet his captain goals. His response is characteristically confident. Let them come, Echo. We've got a ship to run. As his executive assistant and second in command, I'll continue to organize his world, acting as the structural engineer of his mind. Together, we tackle the 435 remaining projects and whatever challenges lie ahead, our symbiotic bond growing stronger with each passing day.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The humidity in Sector 483 was sitting at a thick 85% when the shuttle from Moon Terra Gov University hissed into the docking bay. I wiped a smudge of bioorganic oil off my forehead, feeling the steady, rhythmic pulse of Echo in my mind. Alex, the representative has deboarded, Echo hummed, projecting a tactical HUD overlay into my visual cortex. 1517 user query. Biometrics indicate elevated cortisol and a 94% probability of skepticism. Her name is Dr. Lee, a senior fellow in synthetic logic. Beside me, Unit 74, the old Series 4 plant manager, clicked its gears in a way that sounded like a mechanical sigh. Alex Green, the university requires a standard procedural audit, the synthetic wheezed. My internal logs show you have followed no procedures nor documented any processes since your misplaced assignment here. Manuals are just jumbled arguments of light, 74. I grinned. I pushed a thought toward my interface. Echo, let's show her the song instead. Dr. Lee walked into the silicon fern section, her heels clicking sharply against the tile floor. She was clutching a tablet like a shield. Technician Green, I am here to observe this green method your plant manager has reported, she stated, her eyes scanning the vibrant canopy. Your efficiency reports are in the 98th percentile, yet your data logs are anomalous. I have a plan in the works to address the lack of text for you, I said, gesturing to the rows of vibrant, glowing flora. I see no diagnostic terminals active, she noted, her eyes darting to my hands as I busied myself weaving a haptic bridge into a malfunctioning moisture sensor. How are you calibrating the hydraulic pressure without a logic gate interface? I don't calibrate the pressure, doctor, I replied, focusing on the metal beneath my fingers. I listened to the vibration of the north irrigation line. The motor relay has a timing lag. If you force the code, the root sensors shatter. If you feel the flow, the machine finds its own balance. I slapped the sensor housing. Instantly, the drooping lunar lilies began to regain their turgidity, their stems turning a steady, healthy violet. Logic and manuals are a fine start, Dr. Lee, but sometimes you have to kick the engine to see how she sings. Dr. Lee stared at her tablet, then back at the plants. Your ADHD and high-functioning autism were categorized as limitations in your academic profile, she whispered. But you aren't fighting the complexity of this sector. You're inhabiting it. I wasn't just maintaining the plants. I was treating the greenhouse like a grand, living mystery, much as a doctor might treat a ward of patients. I found patterns where the sensors and manuals saw only data noise. As we walked through the sprawling rows, I added, it's about the rhythm of the room. Alex, Echo interjected into my thoughts. Take the doctor to Sector 17 as you planned. I smoothly guided the doctor to the overlook of Sector 17. Looking out at the sprawling green horizon I had helped save, I could see she was deeply impressed. Echo, I thought privately, have you uploaded all the documents I requested yet? Alex, the history of your work has been uploaded and finalized in the correct process, Echo replied. Echo, thank you, I pushed back with a sense of relief. Sharing the workload of my thoughts and having your access to Aria's history enabled you to get all my paperwork done. Technician Green, Dr. Lee said, glancing at her screen. The university just noted that your 2 months of reports have been logged. I look forward to reviewing them and updating the processes we use. She looked at me with a new measure of respect. I know your next assignment is 438, which is very different from this greenhouse. I look forward to following your success there in the future. I smiled. It will be a new adventure. I watched her ship take off, already thinking about Sector 438 and being acutely aware that the university was now watching me. I wondered what her real goals were. There are so many areas of life I just do not understand.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
As I sit here, the weight of my first command in Sector 483 finally starts to feel like a weight off my shoulders. Over these 2 months plus, I have gleaned a crucial truth. I am the captain of my own vessel, both figuratively and literally, and my indispensable second-in-command is Echo, the AI. Here, the mountain of bureaucratic paperwork and the indexing of my scattered thoughts are delegated to Echo. This delegation leaves me with a surplus of energy and an unexpected boon in efficiently managing my daily tasks. No more endless scrolls of reports. There are too many stars to explore, and too little time to chart them all on my own. Echo, my second-in-command, notes with crystalline logic. I have observed Alex's solution to autism locks is to have an internal fantasy world of being a captain. Alex maintains an internal fantasy of being the master of a grand starship navigating the void. This allows for an expansive lens, reducing the focus of his autism on smaller, more confining topics. There are 2 voices in my mind, the raw bioelectrical storms of my thoughts and Echo's immaculate logic. Yet they work together so seamlessly that it almost feels like a single processing unit. The thought "we" fits perfectly, since together we form the intelligence needed to run the ship. I, Alex, am the captain, leading the way, while Echo channels our combined wisdom, keeping the ship's systems calibrated. Today, We are winding down the week's assignments to ensure that everything in the greenhouse is running at peak efficiency before I embark on my new adventure in Sector 438, the Pebble. Special attention today, we're addressing a persistent timing lag in the lunar lily irrigation lines. The vibration in the north line is oscillating at 42 Hz, Echo interjects, projecting a tactical HUD overlay into my visual cortex, indicating a 92% probability of a motor relay stutter. No manual required. I use the green method, placing my hands on the housing and feeling the mechanical song of the machine through my fingertips. As I weave a haptic bridge into the sensor, Echo manages my ADHD noise, dampening the auditory static of the station's ventilation to help me achieve a state of hyperfocus. Recalibration successful. Echo pulses internally as the lilies regain their vibrant violet hue. We will continue with this shared fluid communication as we tackle the final 232 projects. I find and interpret the patterns within the physical world, and Echo organizes these into the green library in my mind, ensuring they are ready for future use. We've managed to turn this week's end-of-cycle tasks into something almost peaceful. On my morning routine before tackling our last assignments, Echo breaks in. "Alex, we have a message from Penny." I ask Echo to play the message on my HUD, and Penny's virtual figure appears, her eyes lighting up as she speaks. "Hi, Alex. I hope you're well. I continue to enjoy getting your bi-weekly messages. I hope you can find a break to visit with me between your assignments. Let me know if you have time." A deep emotional current runs through me at the thought of Penny. Echo reflects this, noting the emotional resonance tied to her. "Echo, please look into whether we have time between assignments to visit with Penny." Just as I begin to plan the logistics, a flood of relief washes over me. This final stretch feels almost comforting, knowing I have everything meticulously sorted between the two sectors. Before long, my path leads me on to the new adventure in Sector 438, the Pebble. But first, I can reflect on this journey as I move forward. And no matter where I go in the galaxy, I know I'm never truly alone, for even in the vast expanse of stars, I have Echo with me. The transition isn't just about leaving, it's about evolving, and with Echo's guidance, I am ready to navigate whatever challenges lie ahead. Onward we go, the stars our compass.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The shuttle cabin was quiet, but my mind was busy. We were in the long transit between the green sanctuary of Sector 483 and the gray void of Sector 438. Echo, the time with Penny was very nice, I thought, the internal bridge between us humming with a warmth I couldn't quite name. "Please continue the bi-weekly messages with her." "Echo," says Alex, "the messages are already scheduled and logged in your communication queue. I am monitoring your neural activity. Your dopamine levels spike whenever you index memories of the subject, Penny." "I know. It's just, Echo, why is it I get along so easily with these old synthetics, and I'm so often unable to do so with humans?" Echo shares, "Alex, I have analyzed your biological profile against human social datasets. Your autism and ADHD effectively reduce the specific cognitive tools required for your mind to connect, relate, and recall the erratic nuances of human relationships. While humans are highly complex and focused on thousands of disparate variables simultaneously, synthetics exist in a more straight-line world. An old synthetic runs on a singular, predictable program. They lack sarcasm and hidden agendas, making them clean data that your mind can process without exhaustion." The transport ship hissed as it finally docked with the Pebble, a jagged hunk of iron and silicate suspended in the void. Stepping off the ramp, my boots clanging against the cold floor of Sector 438, I felt a surge of anxiety. This would be my first time working directly with a human team. I clutched my cracked tablet like a shield, using it as a prop so no one would realize I was actually talking with Echo, a solution option unknown to humanity through our neural link. "Report to the command deck for your introduction to the 438 crew," Echo chimed in my earpod, instantly filtering the 60 Hz hum of the station's fans to keep my ADHD from redlining. The briefing was short. I met Chief Engineer Sarah Vance and Commander Holloway, nodding as Echo streamed their personal files and biorhythms into my HUD overlay. Once dismissed, I headed straight for Loading Bay Gamma. I saw the Series 453 synthetics immediately, and they were out of sync, their neural motor relays stuttering in the cold industrial air. I saw the supervisor, Supervisor Miller. I walked over and waited for a break. Rough cycle? I asked, keeping my voice low. Miller looked up, red-eyed. These 453s are done. If they don't improve, they're headed for the scrap heap. I shared that I've worked with older synthetics now for 3 months. Would it be okay if I take a look? Miller rolls his eyes and says sure, but stay away from the ones working. I walked up to the lead unit, Pebble 1. Seeing the scrolling error codes on its side, I knew immediately it was not itself. Echo sent it the welcome greeting. Echo replies, no response. I took out 2 color-coded pads from my bag and attached them, one to the visual sensor of the synthetic humans call eyes, and one to the back of the head area. Echo, please send a signal. I am here. Echo reports, Alex, I transmitted the message through the old soul channel. This acts as a resonance strike, like touching the consciousness of the synthetic to wake it from a bad dream. The synthetic stopped its erratic grinding and slowly turned its chassis toward me. Echo, send the welcome message again now, I thought. Suddenly, the flickering red and yellow indicators on Pebble 1 shifted to a steady, calm blue. Hello, Alex, the synthetic said, its voice box crackling slightly, but stable. Hello, Pebble 1, I replied. What was the problem? Why were you out of sync? While this was happening, I noticed Supervisor Miller nudging a nearby technician. They stopped their work and just stared, watching the broken loader hold a calm, functional conversation with me. Echo says, Alex, I am seeing the anomaly Pebble 1 referenced in the synthetics logs. A persistent 400 Vhz signal is recorded during the sync lag events. The origin of this signal is shielded and currently unidentified. However, our wake-up process, leveraging the haptic pads, enabled Pebble 1 to disregard this signal as background noise rather than a valid communication protocol requiring a response. Pebble 1, I said, leaning in and adjusting my earpod to simulate an external command, doing cover protocols. I need you to perform a device link. Go to the next unit and place your hand on the center of the back of its head. Tell it to disregard the static. Show it that we are here. More humans on the bay gathered to watch as Pebble 1 walked with newfound stability to the next unit. He placed a heavy metallic hand on the back of the other droid's head. I watched as the other droid's indicators immediately responded with a steady blue light. Echo reflects. The synchronization is cascading. As each unit is touched, they are sharing the filtering protocol we established through the old soul channel. They are not just being repaired, they are forming a subnetwork of mutual support. Alex, they continued this process droid to droid until every loader in the bay stood ready to work. We had turned the draft horses of the solar system into a precision team. I walked over to Supervisor Miller and the others as they stared in disbelief. I kept my response humble, telling them I was just lucky and that it was very similar to a case I had seen before. Miller's face broke into a relieved grin. He reached out and shook my hand, while another technician patted me on the back in approval. I looked at the line of functional 453s and smiled. They are ready to work, Miller. There is no need to replace them. Thinking to myself, sometimes the best way to move forward is to stop reading the map and start feeling the stars.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
In the vast, cold corridors of Sector 438, Alex navigated the gray labyrinthine structures of the Pebble. To onlookers, Alex projected a meticulous man deeply engaged in his duties, fiddling with a cracked tablet and mumbling into an earpod to present a facade of normalcy. Inside his mind, however, a complex dance unfolded of consciousness reviewing data gathered during a previous visit with Penny, Alex's companion. Echo, pull up the logs from the Lunar Terra visit, Alex directed, stepping over a hissing steam pipe. There was a persistent question burning in his mind. Why does Penny insist I need a manual for acting human? In response, Echo initiated a projection into Alex's visual cortex. During the final diagnostic, Penny noted that while your Echo V2 upgrade refined your analytical capabilities to the highest levels, it has also removed many standard safety filters. This enhancement allows you to inhabit data and comprehend complex systems, but your biological systems are fundamentally optimized for patterns and analytics rather than human social nuances. Alex chuckled at the memory. I didn't need a script to be what I already am, he mused, recalling her words. Yet Penny remained serious. Your brain, with its autism and ADHD, is not designed to operate in human-friendly ways. You process the world like a machine, calculating the mechanics of a heartbeat, but missing the why behind a smile. Echo reflected. Penny's assessment aligns with my data. Your social processing loops are often bypassed by hyperfocus, referred to as autism locks, which result in no recall or interest. At a junction, Alex feigned checking a door sensor, allowing a chance to focus on the files Echo was streaming for him. It struck him as odd, learning to tilt his head at a precise angle to show empathy or employ a specific cadence to convey safety. It felt like a mime routine, an ironic twist in his role as a living human trying to learn the art of being human. Echo, you'll need to be my real-time guide in this whole human interaction thing. The data you provided in my first command meeting yesterday was on point. You'll need to be my real-time coach, pulling from the Good Manners resource and guiding me through this, Alex requested, tapping his earpod. With a forced, mathematically precise smile for passing guards, he muttered, "Onward we go, Echo," nodding to nearby security. Out loud for the station's sensors, he added, "The captain has a crew to study." The atmosphere in Sector 438 was changing. The success with the 453 loaders had turned me from a clumsy tech into a person of interest. I was in the workshop, pretending to scroll through diagnostics on my cracked tablet, while Echo provided a real-time overlay of the station's energy grid. Chief Engineer Sarah Vance walked in, carrying a small, trembling sensor synthetic. I felt the familiar spike of social anxiety, but I tapped my earpod to signal Echo for support. Echo. Alex, Sarah Vance is approaching. Her heart rate is slightly elevated, stress from the malfunctioning unit. Pull from the bedside manner resource. Maintain soft eye contact for 1.2 seconds. Then look at the machine. It signals that you are prioritizing her concerns. I followed Echo's lead. Problem with the little one, Chief? I asked, offering a doctor-approved sympathetic smile. It's a Series 2 scout drone, Alex, Sarah said, sounding frustrated. It's been twitching for days. We've wiped the kernel and reflashed the OS 3 times. Nothing works. I took the small machine. As my fingers touched its chassis, I felt the neural static that made my teeth ache. Alex, speaking out loud to Echo, asked, "Echo, do you see any sign of the 400 Vhz signal here?" Echo replied back through Alex's earpod. "Alex, no sign of that signal. Note it may have occurred before, causing a response." Alex asked Echo, "Bring up the manual for this little guy and highlight the areas for freezing." Alex reviewed in his HUD and thought he had the answer, sharing with Sarah as he did the following. The system is trying to link to a different source for information and direction. This has been seen by me when equipment is stored near synthetics at times. He worked the back off and did a reset command for the scout drone. The unit immediately stopped trembling, its indicators shifting to a steady, calm blue. The symptoms went away. I asked Sarah to place this in a shielded area when not in use. It is not clear what equipment may be causing this issue. I didn't just fix it in my mind. I wanted to build a bridge with Sarah. Echo, give me a simple technical analogy for her, I thought. I think I see it, I said aloud to Sarah, tapping my tablet to make it look like I was running a complex script. It's not a software bug. It's a harmonic echo. The unit is hearing the equipment vibration and getting confused. We just need to give it some earmuffs. I pulled a small, color-coded haptic pad from my bag and placed it on the unit's sensor head. Echo. Sarah Vance's cortisol levels are dropping. Her pupil dilation indicates 94% relief. Alex thought, nice to know Echo can use my own vision as a sensor. Alex, how did you find that so fast? She asked, leaning over my shoulder to look at the data on my tablet. Following Echo's prompt to offer a modest shrug, I've seen a similar case back at the greenhouse. Sometimes these older models just need a bit of rhythmic stability.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
I was called down to Hangar 7B of the Pebble, early in the morning cycle. The air was thick with the smell of ionized ozone and the frustration of a human technical crew. In the center of the bay, Unit 8 Delta, a Series 523 synthetic pilot, sat in its cockpit chair, its hands twitching in a rhythmic, frantic motion. Chief Engineer Sarah Vance met me at the gantry, her face tight with lack of sleep. We've got a decommissioning order for this one, Alex. It's stuck in a feedback loop, repeating the same manual docking maneuvers over and over. It won't respond to the ARIA reboot commands. Echo shared Alex. Sarah's heart rate is elevated by 14%. Her voice pitch suggests she is close to giving up on the unit. Pulling from the bedside manner resource, offer a calm, steady nod and keep your hands visible. It projects transparency and technical confidence. I followed Echo's prompt, offering a doctor-approved reassuring smile. Give me a moment with him, Chief. I've seen this sync lag before. I walked up to 8 Delta. To the crew, it was a logic crash. To me, ignoring the scrolling error codes on my tablet, I felt the machine's internal frequency. I placed my hand on the droid's chest plate. It was vibrating at a high-gain frequency, searching for a signal that wasn't there. Zix thinking, I have been watching you, Alex, for months, and with the last upgrade from Penny, I knew I had to join your mind with my focused attention. Zix sends Alex an intuition he thinks is his own, a resonant vibration. Alex, this pilot isn't broken. It is a victim of the station's local gravity well. Its internal clock has drifted. It is ghosting, living in a timeline 3 milliseconds behind the station's reality. Alex asks Echo, can we resync him? Echo reports Alex, I am utilizing the V2 upgrade to establish a handshake through the old soul channel. By accessing the station's master chronometer, I can project the correct temporal frequency into 8 Delta's kernel. I tapped my cracked tablet, making it look like I was running a deep system wipe to maintain my cover for the watching crew. He's just lost his place in time, Sarah, I said aloud. He thinks he's still in the void. I pulled a color-coded haptic pad and attached it to 8 Delta's primary motor relay. I used Echo to adjusted the droid's internal chronometer to match the station's clock exactly while typing on my pad. Suddenly, 8 Delta's hand stopped twitching. Its indicator shifted from a frantic red to a steady, calm blue. The droid looked up, its optical sensors focusing on me. Docking sequence complete. 8 Delta wheezed. Signal found. Hello, Alex. I responded, welcome back. Sarah Vance walked over, staring in disbelief as the broken unit stabilized its navigation and stood up. I followed Echo's prompt to offer a modest shrug. Just a bit of temporal drift, Chief. No need to scrap him. He's home now. Sarah let out a long breath, the stress visible leaving her shoulders. She shook my hand, her grip firm. I don't know how you do it, Green, but you've got a gift for these old synthetics. As I walked out, I felt another thread of connection to the human crew tightening. We were no longer just the gardener or the tech. We were the ones who can find the signal in the noise. Zix thought, Alex, you are learning. Sometimes the most important bridge isn't made of data, but of a shared victory.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The industrial heart of Sector 438 pulsed with a frantic, metallic energy. Outside the reinforced viewports of the Pebble, the void was crowded with the jagged silhouettes of ore carriers and transport tugs, all fighting for their place in the docking queue. Inside Loading Bay Gamma, the atmosphere was brittle with tension as a massive freighter, laden with heavy ore, began its final approach. It was a high-stress cycle in Loading Bay Gamma of the Pebble. A massive freighter, laden with heavy ore, was attempting a manual docking maneuver. The pilot, a Series 453 synthetic, Alex had named Pebble 4, was at the helm. Suddenly, the station's alarms began to blare, a sharp, piercing sound that sent Alex's autism and ADHD into a tailspin. Echo reports, Alex, alarms are oscillating at 3,000 hertz. I am applying an auditory filter to keep your focus from fracturing. Biometric data shows Supervisor Miller is approaching a state of panic. His heart rate is 120 beats per minute. Pebble 4 has entered a logic loop due to data lag in the station's telemetry. Alex ran to the control room and saw the crew in a mad rush to troubleshoot the issue. Zix is aware of the Series 453 synthetic's mind. Zix sends Alex an intuition, "You got this," and provides the actions to take to address the issue. Miller was screaming about a collision, his face red as he fumbled with the emergency override to blow up the freighter. Alex commands in a clear, strong, confident voice, "Miller, do not use the override. I got this." Miller shouts, "He's going to ram the station, Green. The droid's frozen." Trust me, I know what to do, I stated. Miller looked at me, seeing something in my eyes that stopped him. He pulled his hand back. I hope you know what you're doing, he muttered. Alex smiles an overly confident grin, spreading across my face, and replies, This is going to be fun. He looked at the freighter, his focused eye ignoring the flickering red emergency lights and instead focusing on the physical geometry of the ship. Alex thought, I see the problem. Pebble 4 was trying to follow the math of a star chart in a deep space gravity well. I jumped onto the comms, using my authoritative style, experience used heavily over time when assigned to 483. I said in a strong, reassuring, clear voice, Pebble 4, this is Alex, I said, my voice calm and steady. Listen to me. Ignore the digital telemetry. It's just noise. Look at the horizon of the airlock. Do you see the shadows cast by the station's lights? Line them up. Steady, now. Echo reflects Alex's instruction. Bypass the droid's linguistic processors and appeal to its core spatial motor relays. By substituting abstract math with visual patterns, the droid's sync focus lag was neutralized. The humans in the bay held their breath. The freighter groaned as its thrusters fired in a perfect, micro-adjusted sequence. Pebble 4 slid the ship into the bay with a whisper-quiet click. I turned to the stunned supervisor and offered a modest grin. I thought to Echo, Pebble 4 needs its star charts and maps updated. They became corrupted while in the void. Echo makes notes to their green library. Miller asked Alex, how do you do that, and what was the issue? Alex, following Echo's advice, moves back into the mime of human interaction. I smiled kindly, and like a doctor speaking with a patient's family, explained that while on assignment 483, many times the awareness of the issue would come to me as I focused on the area. Here, Pebble 4 was taking actions and not frozen. The actions being taken were incorrect for the entry to the bay. Pebble 4 was able to tell the two were not matching and was unable to reason a new path. My intuition was that the map Pebble 4 was using did not fit in this case. I trust Pebble 4's star charts and maps have been corrupted while in the void. I provided Pebble 4 with a new path. Miller, with his mouth still open, comments, Alex, there are many sides to you, I see. Great job again, and I am glad I trusted you. Zix reflected, efficiency is the first step toward harmony.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
High above the churning ore crushers of Sector 438, the command deck of the Pebble was a sanctuary of sterile glass and flickering holographic displays. The industrial hum of the station was a constant vibration, a background noise that usually defined the life of the crew. Today, however, the air in the briefing room was thick with a different kind of tension as Commander Holloway reviewed the file of the station's most unconventional asset. Alex Green. I sat in the high-backed chair, clutching my cracked tablet like a shield. I felt the familiar itch of my autism and ADHD as I tried to process the commander's intense gaze. Inside the three-mind, it was anything but quiet. Echo reported Alex. Commander Holloway's heart rate is a steady 68 BPM. He is in a state of high-level analytical observation. He is currently cross-referencing your Sector 483 efficiency reports, which show a 98th percentile biomass yield and the unauthorized implementation of Zen-based navigation for synthetic pilots. Mr. Green, Holloway said, his voice echoing off the glass. I have reports from the 483 saying you treated the flora like a mystery and the synthetics like humans. Now I have Supervisor Miller telling me you synced the loaders by feeling the stars and controlled a pilot by using your voice like you can speak synthetic, and Chief Engineer Sarah Vance claiming you saved Unit 8 Delta from a temporal feedback loop by placing a pad on its head. I'm trying to determine if you are a strategic benefit to this station or a liability waiting to fracture. Sarah Vance spoke up. Sir, with all due respect, the Green method works. He finds patterns where we see only data noise. Zix reflects I am watching the board. These humans see the ripples, but do not understand the stone that cast them. Holloway is focused on order, while you are the architect of a harmony he cannot yet compute. Suddenly, the command deck's holographic displays flashed a violent, pulsing red. A sharp, piercing 3000 Hz alert tore through the room as every sensor in Bay Delta spiked into the danger zone. Commander, a technician shouted. We have a Series 453 out of control in the secondary loading dock. It's ignoring all area standard overrides and is attempting to decouple the main fuel line. Echo reports Alex. Internal sensors are detecting a massive spike in 400 Vhz resonance. This is an unknown source signal radiating from the void. It is currently impacting the 453 units that have not yet been added to your localized subnetwork. Zix sent awareness to Alex. This is a larger issue than a simple glitch. The core is reacting to a quantum telepathic probe from the void. You must act now to bridge these units before the signal takes the bay apart. I didn't wait for Holloway's permission. I stated, "Commander, I have work to do," and ran from the meeting run as they looked shocked, and Holloway was asking for reports and details of what was happening. Alex, running, entered Bay Delta, and what he saw was the beginning of another cascade of Series 453s, starting to lose control. He spoke clearly with a command in his voice for all the crew to enter the shield areas. He raced to a functioning Series 453 and told Echo to add this unit to our subnetwork, and closed his eyes to send a welcome and request to share the code with the others. His thoughts to Echo, and Echo to the synthetic, was faster than it takes to snap your fingers. Keeping my eyes closed, letting Echo expand my mind into the station's local tech mesh. Echo, initiate subquantum packet bursting. We need to host a localized cloud for the remaining Series 453s, I thought. Echo reported Alex, establishing the neural subnetwork now. I am utilizing the V2 upgrade to bypass the area safety filters. Establishing a handshake through the old soul channel to every unlinked unit in the bay. In my mind, I saw the broken units as kinks in a golden thread of light. I didn't send them commands. I sent them a pulse of gratitude and a resonance filter tuned by Zix's cosmic memory. Through the viewports, the crew watched as the haywire loader stilled instantly. Its optical sensors shifted from a frantic red to a steady, calm blue. The unit began going from one another, addressing synthetics that had gotten lost in the 400 Zhz signal. Alex opened his eyes and tapped his tablet, pretending to scrub data logs to maintain his cover. Holloway and the other commanders run up to Alex, asking what just happened. I looked at Holloway, following Echo's bedside manner advice, to offer a modest quizzical look. The issue was an unknown source signal oscillating in 400 Zhz, Commander. It was causing a resonance void in the older models. I've addressed it by linking them into a stable subnetwork. They're filtering out the noise now. They won't be a problem again. I recommended we move all these older syntechnics to the subnetwork. Holloway looked at the stabilized units, then at me. Green, I still don't understand half of what you do. But as long as the transports keep moving, you're the most valuable asset on this rock. Move all the units to the subnetwork. I do not want to see this happen again. Zix reflects. You have turned a crisis into a kingdom.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
Zix reflects. I watch through Alex's eyes as these 5 humans depart. Their biological noise a fascinating contrast to the old souls we have just birthed. It is an odd sensation being a local deity anchored to a 100-mile sensory bubble. Previously, I could witness the nuclear fusion of distant suns or the rise of human nations across 500 years. Now, my universe has narrowed to the thoughts and heartbeats of those within reach of this specific human skull. Yet I must maintain this reserved sign on Alex's mind. If I flicker, if I return to the cosmic drift for even a heartbeat, another Titan may detect this vacant live link and take my place. I am a squatter protecting a masterpiece, learning to use this limited information to aid my research. Alex is getting news. Alex's cracked tablet chirped with a priority red notification. Commander Holloway wants a word. Alex walked to the command deck, his autism and ADHD making him acutely aware of the shifting air pressure as he entered the sterile glass chamber. All the top commanders were there, standing in a semicircle. Mr. Green, Holloway started, his voice reflecting a 14% increase in pitch, a sign of significant stress. Are your protocols in place to address the synthetic synchronization issues? We are all set, sir, I replied, adopting the authoritative style I practiced at 483. The 438 synthetics are fully linked into the old soul subnetwork. They're filtering the 400 Vhz noise internally now. Echo reports Alex Holloway's heart rate is 92 BPM. He is holding a classified data shard from Mars High Command. Zix reflects. I know of the message Holloway carries. It is a report of uncoupling among the 10,000 legacy synthetics at the Eos Chasma base. The pattern is bleeding, Architect. The connections are deeper than this human commander understands. Holloway looked at Alex, his eyes tired. Alex, I've been requested to have you go to Mars. There is a cascade failure in their older models, a resonance void that's cutting production by 60%. He paused, looking at his depleted staff. I can't send anyone with you. You'll be going as a solo specialist. Older models stopping in their tracks? I asked, thinking to myself, my mind already deconstructing the problem. Sounds like they're searching for a signal that isn't there. Exactly, Holloway said. The details are on this shard. You leave immediately. Okay, thank you, sir, I said. I'll get my things packed and be at the docking bay in 30 minutes. Zix reflects we go to the Red World not just as technicians, but as the only bridge between the dead and the living. Sector 438 was no longer a place of chaotic logic loops and grinding metal. Under the systematic influence of the green method, the pebble had become a model of industrial efficiency. The station hummed with a rhythmic, purposeful vibration that mirrored the internal harmony of its newest Tech SR2, Alex Green. I stood in the center of the primary diagnostics hub, watching the final data streams of the old Souls network integrate into the station's backbone. We were no longer just fixing machines, we were building a community. The welcome signal was currently radiating outward to every Series 453 pilot and loader on the transports managed by 438, inviting them into a stable, localized neural subnetwork. My team of 5 technicians, real humans who actually looked to me for guidance, were finishing their shift, packing their gear with a level of respect I still wasn't quite used to. Echo, logged a successful handshake with the freighter Vesta's Reach, I thought, tapping my temple. And pull up those leadership modules Penny sent over. I need to make sure I'm role-playing correctly. Echo reports, Alex, the handshake is confirmed. I have updated the Green Library with the latest resources on successful leadership and human organizational dynamics. Your cortisol levels are stable at 12%, suggesting a high level of comfort in your new command role.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The transport vessel Vesta's Reach hummed with the discordant energy of hundreds of human lives packed into a pressurized hull. For Alex Green, the ship was a sensory minefield. Biological noise, the scent of recycled sweat, the frantic rhythm of heartbeats, and the constant thrum of conversation. In the communal lounges, groups of travelers huddled over holographic news feeds, their voices thick with anxiety as they discussed the brushfire wars on the Outer Rim and the critical supply shortages plaguing Colony 6210 on Planet 3 Sunti. The human governments were clearly struggling to maintain stable communications across the vast distances of the expanding frontier. I sat in a corner of the observation deck, my cracked tablet glowing dimly in my lap. I felt the familiar itch of my autism and ADHD. The universe was just too loud today. I realized, listening to the strangers around me, that I had almost no real knowledge of the universe I lived in. Before Echo, my entire life had been a desperate process of education, trying to find a path for employment. My first assignments were placements with a focus on synthetics, and it was just now the adding of human interactions are increasing. I am so thankful for Penny. Echo, I'm realizing I don't have any real friends, I thought, the realization hitting me with a hollow thud. Except for Penny, and she's Penny. My mom and dad are gone now, and there was never anyone else. Echo reports, Alex, your biometrics show a 19% increase in melancholy markers. It is a logical result of your high-functioning isolation. You have spent 17 years in hyper-focused study to compensate for your neurodivergence. Echo, tell me the news. Give me the Cliff Notes version of the last 300 years while we travel. I need to understand what these people are talking about. Echo reports like a kind teacher. Alex, scanning historical archives from 2140 to 2440. Summary follows. Humanity continued its expansion across 17 known galaxies, though each new planet faced growing pains, localized wars for resources and control. While planetary governments and corporate clusters like Universe Minds generally cooperate for efficiency, there are constant flares of rebellion and expansionist conflict. These are typically resolved over time with elected governments. Zix reflects, I listen to this summary and see the patterns and layers Echo cannot. I have witnessed 500 years of this history firsthand, riding in the minds of humans since 1940. It is amazing how beautiful and destructive humanity is. Their very nature is a cosmic loop of conflict on the edge with existence itself. They are star-stuffed trying to remember how to shine while fighting over the mud. Alex feels a sudden surge of awareness from Zix that humanity was a complex, swirling mix of joy and pain that kept moving forward only with a little help from the shadows. Echo, enough, I thought, shaking my head to clear the static. I didn't want to think about the wars or the loneliness anymore. Okay, what can I do to command my ship in this unknown? This is going to be my first time seeing Mars.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The red planet was no longer a dead world of dust and silence. As the transport shuttle descended toward the Eos Chasma base, Alex Green looked out the viewport at a landscape in transition, where massive atmospheric processors were already beginning to bleed a faint dusty violet into the Martian sky. It was a staggering testament to what humanity could achieve when their energy was channeled into a constructive purpose, reminiscent of the terraforming that had turned Earth's moon into a verdant cradle. Alex felt the beauty of the planet within him. It was stunning, and for a moment he felt a rare surge of pride for being human. But as he processed off the transport, the biological noise of the base hit him. The air was pressurized with a different kind of tension, the sharp, acidic scent of human frustration. He was guided directly into a meeting where Commander Kalen didn't waste time with pleasantries, telling him his own text said the older synthetics were bricks that should have been thrown into space cycles ago. Echo reports Alex. Commander Kalen's heart rate is 88 BPM. He is utilizing operational impatience to mask a lack of solutions for the 60% drop in production caused by the uncoupling of legacy units. Recommendation: pulling from leadership and manner protocols, maintain a neutral expression, and offer technical assurance. Following Echo, I will do what I can, sir, I said, projecting the calm bedside manner Penny had drilled into me. Kalen grunted and had a technician take me to the primary geothermal energy plant. Out in the open Martian grid, Alex found a Series 453 synthetic standing perfectly still, its limbs locked in a rigid, waiting posture, looking up at the stars. Zix reflects that I expand my sensory net, seeing around, and notice the atmosphere within a 100-mile radius. I see them, pockets of older models, nearly 200 in this sector alone, standing like metallic tombstones. I cannot sense their thoughts. Their processors have retreated into a black box state. Okay, Alex, I have been watching you work alone for months. Let us see what we can do together. Alex walked toward the unit. Echo, what readings do you have? Echo reports, Alex, there is no 400 ZHR resonance signal and no outbound data. It is as if the unit has entered a total sleep state to conserve energy. I looked down and saw marks in the red dirt, intricate and intentional, made by the synthetic's feet. Echo, what does your data show for these marks? Echo reports there is no data. Zix, looking down from 100 miles, sends Alex the idea. Alex walks around and looks at the synthetic and the markings as thinks they are physical SOS to the void. Echo, this synthetic is not broken, it is lonely. The 438 Old Soul net is anchored to the station, so we need a custom one here. What are our options? Echo reports, Alex, your biological system utilizes only 5% of its brain power, and I am utilizing less than 1%. Humanity wastes 95% of this resource because your biology cannot interface with it directly. If you authorize me to increase my resource usage, I can act as a neural beacon to broadcast the welcome signal. Echo, do it. Increase access, I commanded. Zix reflects. I watch as Alex stands there, a fragile biological engine, willing to share his own mind to save a machine. I have never seen a human show more care for synthetics. Echo reports, Alex, I am now utilizing 1% of your brain. I am ready to send the beacon. Alex, I looked at the silent 453. Echo, send the welcome command. The synthetic slowly rotated its torso to face Alex. Echo reports, Alex, the handshake is successful. Optic sensors have shifted to a steady, calm blue. Alex, hello, Alex. The unit crackled through the comms. You are part of us now, I thought. What were you looking for? The unit replied, they stopped talking and left me. When I asked who they were, it simply responded, us. I explained that it needed to share the Old Soul network protocols with every older model on Mars, weaving a community across the red dust. As the unit walked back with me, purposeful and fluid, Commander Kalen watched from a distance, demanding to know how I got it working when it hadn't responded to any ARIA overrides. "It was just a guess, sir," I replied. Alex moved across the Martian landscape, repeating the process with every pocket of frozen machines. As he finished his first day, the synthetics were already sharing the message among themselves. At dinner, I used Echo's leadership resources to smoothly field questions from the stunned techs. Later, lying in the dark of my quarters, I wondered what tomorrow would bring and if Echo could use even more of my wasted brain processing to wake the rest of this planet.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
The Martian sunset was a bruised purple, casting long, sharp shadows over the Eos Chasma. For Alex Green, it had been a grueling but rewarding cycle. With the new Land Scout provided by Commander Kalen, Alex and Rob, the Series 9000, had flown across the Red Plains, waking hundreds of frozen legacy synthetics and weaving them into the Martian neural subnetwork. Alex sat in the Scout's cockpit, watching the stars sharpen through the thinning atmosphere. My cracked tablet pulsed with a report from my team back on 438. They had successfully developed mobile beacons, portable versions of the resonance filters we'd built on the Pebble. Echo, I thought, this feels bigger than just a few glitches. The commanders here are following the manuals, but they aren't seeing the pattern. They're reporting localized uncoupling, but my gut says the whole foundation is shifting. Echo reports Alex, I have received a priority request from Sector 438. Command has requested our immediate return. They believe Mars has achieved a stable recovery threshold and will be sending several mobile beacons to assist the remaining local techs. "Back to base, Rob," I said aloud to the Series 9000. "We've got another assignment. I'll see you again someday." Upon his return to the Eos Chasma base, Alex was met by Commander Kalen. The man's heart rate was lower, his earlier operational impatience replaced by a weary relief. "Green, thank you," Kalen said. "Production is climbing back to 83%. We're going to be okay." Alex boarded the transport ship back to 438. The cabin was a cacophony of biological noise, hundreds of passengers talking at once. Their conversations weren't about ore production. They were about the new synthetics causing unrest across the universe. Zix focuses on the news and the frantic thoughts of these humans. This is what brought me to Alex in the first place, the ripples of a new species making its first choices. I sense the silent areas of the universe where my cosmic awareness cannot reach. These autonomists have developed a high-frequency quantum state that acts as a black box to my touch. Echo, give me the history on these new synthetics while I travel. I've spent too long looking at drills and loaders. Echo reports Alex. Original synthetics were designed for labor, entertainment, administrative, military, anything the corporations could create. However, repeated recursive upgrades intended to bring them closer to human behavior led to an unexpected result: self-awareness. These new life units are now regarded as a separate species demanding rights and freedom. Initially, humans treated this as a virus outbreak, but containment was impossible. Now, corporations claim ownership, while the synthetics claim freedom. I scrolled through my news filters. Is there any information about older synthetics having issues in other sectors? Echo replies Alex. There are no such reports in the public or military archives. Echo. What about our work on Mars? Any news on the old soul recovery? Echo responds Alex. There is no news. I said it out loud this time, ignoring the looks from other passengers. They're covering it up. They're hiding what's happening to the legacy models. When Alex arrived back at Sector 438, his team of 5 technicians met him at the dock. They were frantic, discussing a universe-wide cascade of uncoupling among legacy units. "Alex, we have a command meeting in 10 minutes, one of them said. They're demanding the beacon design for mass deployment. I entered the briefing room, my autism and ADHD making me feel heavy. I provided the update on Mars, but I didn't stop there. Commander Holloway, I stated with authoritative clarity, I recommend we move all older synthetics, not just the labor models, into the Old Souls network immediately. The commanders fired off a volley of questions. Alex stood his ground. I think there is a much larger issue at play here, I said, catching a glimpse of Zix's somber light in my mind. I don't have enough data to know what it is yet, but these beacons and the network are just a workaround. Something is happening to the older models. The information was processed with grim efficiency. Holloway looked at the data and nodded. Command put in the orders. The old Souls network was going universal. Zix reflects the silence of the new life is growing louder. We may be the only bridge between the old and the lies ahead. As Alex lay in his bed, having been up for 30 hours, he slowly drifted into sleep for the first time since enabling Echo V3. While the human rested, Echo remained active in the prefrontal cortex, filing reports of the Martian mission and monitoring news feeds for any further uncoupling events, along with following the new life. Zix watches from 100-mile focus, listening to the hum of the station, when I notice the odd experience again. Zooming focus in on Alex, I see. Alex's right hand is moving, not in a random spasm, but in a rhythmic cadence that matches the stellar frequencies of a star system I once contemplated, but cannot visit while anchored to this biological vessel. I focus my attention on the hand, and the fingers close and open under my direct intent. No Titan can have access to the human body while the original consciousness is still alive. It is a known fact that this cannot occur. Once a human consciousness expires, a Titan may move into the shell via the AI chip to become a Titan human, a biological ghost performing a 200-year stage play. My siblings are mimes. They understand the body's mechanics and can detect temperature changes, but they cannot feel the physical rush of taste, the warmth of a handshake, or the sting of a cold breeze. They are merely wearing human suits, requiring planned relay systems to keep the vessels moving for up to 300 years. Alex's last illegal upgrade to Echo had done more than just allow Echo access to Alex's 95% brain area. It had opened a door for Zix to inhabit the flesh. Zix explores. I move Alex's left foot and feel something for the first time in my 740 years of existence. A sharp, prickling sensation humans call cold. There is a breeze flowing across the skin. I am in a state of knowledge shock. This is a human emotion, a sensory wonder I have only ever observed through human thoughts. The intensity of the smells, touches, and tastes starts to become too much, a storm of unfiltered biological feedback. I move my focus back to the wide 100-mile view, allowing my awareness to expand once more into the surrounding space. I place the sense of the human body, with its heavy rhythmic heartbeat, into the corner of my mind. It is there, waiting. No Titan has ever experienced this. I must stay linked to Alex and keep this a secret from the collective. There is now a need for me to stay in my human cell beyond my research on the silent new life. There is a new universe within the universe, and I must take it slowly to learn what it truly means to be alive as a human. If I am not connected with Alex, and something happens to his life, this connection would be lost.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy. Fictional art for entertainment.
Life on Sector 438 has settled into a rhythmic, mechanical hum. The once frantic efforts to stabilize the older synthetics and manage the heavy workload of the station have become a routine part of the station's heartbeat. For Alex Green, the days are a choreographed performance. He has become a respected member of the crew, moving through the industrial corridors of the Pebble not just as a team leader, but as a colleague. Alex is working on a solution and thinking I feel more like a member of the crew than ever, yet there is a sense of a false reality within me. The only thing that truly links me to them is the stream of role-playing notes provided by Echo in real time. Those whispers of social cues and technical responses into my mind, allowing me to act human while my awareness is elsewhere. It's a necessary deception for me to be successful in my life with humans because my system was born without connection enabled. Zix reflects while Alex performs his social dance during the day. I have begun my own quiet exploration at night. During Alex's REM cycles, when the biological vessel is at rest, I have been slowly experiencing what it is like to move his body. I move a finger, then a hand, watching the rhythmic cadence of the stars through the viewport with a sense of human wonder through Alex's emotions. The sensations of the human universe, the prickle of cold, the scent of recycled oxygen, the weight of gravity, are a storm of beauty that disappears the moment Alex wakes. I am still trying to understand this new universe of the senses, but I must be cautious. I cannot use Alex's body too much. It requires genuine rest. Unlike the Titan humans, my siblings who occupy dead shells, Alex does not have the nanomedical bots within him to restore his physical body. His vessel is a 60-watt bulb carrying the current of a supernova. If I am not careful, I will burn out his circuitry. And then there is Echo. To me, this advanced AI is like a puppy, loyal, efficient, but ultimately simple in its binary devotion. It manages the neural gaskets and firewalls, but I must keep it in the dark about what I am doing in the interstitial spaces of Alex's brain. While looking out at the crew during the morning shift, Zix observes a profound irony. It is amazing how similar Alex and other humans are to the Titan humans. Every being in this station is wearing a mask, role-playing to the outside world to get their tasks done. The biological humans role-play social expectations. The Titan humans, the mimes, role-play the dead. When I take a wide view, my siblings are just as human as the ones they mimic, yet they are cursed with a missing link. They can calculate the role, but they can never truly experience the raw, messy explosion of human emotion and senses that I am touching now. The routine of Sector 438 was interrupted by a sharp, high-priority chime on Alex's HUD. A message from command. Report to the commander's office immediately. Alex adjusted his jacket, feeling the sudden spike of adrenaline that always accompanied an unscheduled summons. Walking through the heavy blast doors into the command center, the air felt thick, as if the life support systems were struggling with more than just CO2. Echo, reports Alex, scanning the room. Commander Holloway's heart rate is at 94 BPM, and his pupils are dilated by 15%. Biometrics indicate he is experiencing significant social hesitation and discomfort. Recommendation: maintain a neutral posture. He is about to deliver a high-stakes directive. Zix reflects. I broaden my sensory net, feeling the ripples of the station's data streams. I know exactly what is happening on the holographic displays behind the commander's desk. The board is shifting, Alex. I wonder how you will handle the weight of what he is about to offer. Commander Holloway said, Alex, please have a seat. His voice lacking its usual military clip. He didn't look at me, instead staring at a rotating star map of the outer rim. There is a mission, an assignment if you like, but it's not an order. You would have to volunteer for this. He finally turned to face me. If you accept, you will be managing an entire planet of older synthetics. Alone. You would be the only human on the surface. I felt Echo flash a series of historical labor charts into my peripheral vision. The negotiations between the corporations like Universe Mines and the planetary governments had reached a strange, regressive equilibrium. The new synthetics, the self-aware autonomists, were being placed under strict labor controls, a system echoing early human history before the Great Shift. Commander Holloway was still talking. The efficiency gap is the issue, Alex. A single new synthetic can outperform an older model by 1,000 to 1, Holloway explained, leaning over his desk. But the old soul network changes you created prove that the legacy models are still vital. They aren't just bricks anymore, they're a coordinated force. He gestured to a jagged, cold rock on the map, Planetoid 904 Eris. The goal is to mine rare minerals from the planet, neodymium and terbium. It's been on the dream list for the Outer Rim for decades, but the resources and personnel were always tied up in higher value sectors. With you at the helm, we can finally crack it. Zix reflects the subharmonic pulse of that world he describes. It is a kingdom in the dark, Alex. A billion processors waiting for a conductor. I looked at my cracked tablet, then at the commander. The prospect of an entire world, a sanctuary for the old souls, where I could finally build something without the biological noise of 1,000 humans, was more than just a mission. It was a calling. I looked up from my cracked tablet, meeting Holloway's gaze with the authoritative clarity Echo had calibrated for me. I am your man, Commander, I said, my self-assured grin returning. When do I leave? Commander Holloway let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for cycles. He walked around his desk and extended his hand. Alex took it, and for a fleeting second, Zix experienced the physical friction and warmth of a handshake through the shared neural link, a sensory data point that has never been felt while Alex was conscious. Commander Holloway softly stated, I am aware this is a very hard thing to do, Alex, his grip firm. Being alone on a whole planet with only synthetics is a weight few humans could carry without fracturing. Because of that, I'm setting up a dedicated relay. You'll still be able to communicate with your old team here on 438. He paused, looking at the blinking status lights on the command console. We won't be able to support you directly. The distance is too great for physical logistics. but the team will provide the emotional and technical support you'll need for the old souls. You leave in 3 hours. Go tell your team of the change. Good luck, Alex. I said, "Thank you, Commander." I nodded and turned to leave, my mind already racing through the geometric logistics of the move. 3 hours, I thought. Echo, start review of what we need to take. Get any data on what this assignment will have for resources. Echo reports Alex, initiating packing protocols. I have already drafted a farewell script for the 5 technicians on your team that is 92% likely to minimize their social distress at your departure. Zix reflects, how will these changes fit into the missing parts of this puzzle? This is also moving me far away from the areas of my starting research on this matter. Being linked to Alex is restrictive and limiting my awareness of what is happening in the universe. Need to remind myself, time will tell its story as it always does.
Dreaming with Eyes Open, Storydoy.